Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 256. Favorite William Shatner TV and movie roles. With me tonight to discuss this fun topic as we bring in William Shatner's birthday, which will be tomorrow, March 22nd. And he will be celebrating his 94th birthday. My friend and my co-host to discuss this topic this evening is the one and only Mr. Ross Amico. And Pip.
Right. Yes. This is Pip. He's evil incarnate.
Aw.
I try to lock him out of the room here, but he busted in, and as soon as he hears talk, he's gonna come in here, and I don't know. He gets all like lovey-dovey. But don't let that fool you, though.
Okay. Well, it's funny because Marblehead was right outside the door, and she usually doesn't do that. And but she was just kind of like hanging out, and then what she did was she pushed the door open and then she walked away.
Trying to protect us from Shatner. Yeah.
Oh boy. So anyway, Ross, it's great to see you. It was great to see you yesterday in person. You came down to visit, and it was it was good. So
yeah, we got together yesterday and had some manly salads.
You had a manly beer, and I had a manly Diet Coke.
Don't mind if I do.
Yeah, well, I'm having unsweetened iced tea, so
okay.
There you go. But anyway, it's great to be here tonight. Great to see a lot of folks out there as we discuss this fun topic, and I'm just going to say hi to them, starting with Bill. Bill's out there. Welcome. Good to see you out there, Bill. Bill, please remind me and everyone where you are from too. So it will sink in one of these days, and I'm going to blame it on general anesthesia because I'm still recovering from that. Dennis Chevalier is out there. He's joining us from Canada. Welcome, Dennis. And Bill is saying, yes, happy early birthday, Mr. Shatner. Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Rubel is joining us. He's joining us from Utah. Welcome, Jeff. And Lou is out there. Welcome, Lou, joining us from Rhode Island. And I see Linda is also joining us. Oh, thanks, Linda. It's wonderful to see you too, and everyone else as well. And she is joining us from Canada. Randy's saying there was something in the wing of this broadcast. There probably is.
There you go, everybody.
It was Pip.
My sentiments exactly. Yeah.
Jeff is saying evil kitty. Welcome to my world, boss. Hey, Vince. Good to see you out there, Vince. So happy to be out there. Good to have. And our thoughts and prayers are with you, Vince. So just want to put that out there with everything you are going through with your family too right now. So just glad you're out there tonight. And
he's gone. He's gone. Now it's just me and Pip's behind. Yeah, and I have no control over this webcast, so I can't even read the comments. What are you doing? Get down. So, we'll just sit here patiently. Oh, here he is.
Whoa.
Well, yeah, I don't know what's going on with him tonight.
I know what it was. I said lunch, not launch.
Yeah. Well, I thought maybe the high winds came through and took it.
Ross is going solo tonight.
Yeah.
Carrie's out there. Hey, hon. She's saying, hi, Roy, Ross, and Pip. Marblehead heard Ross's voice.
Oh, okay. I got to see Marble yesterday.
Yes, you did. Bill, you're joining us from Long Island. Okay, thanks for clarifying for that. And he's saying, enjoy the anesthesia while you can. Yeah, really. Oh, boy. Ross and the cats from Randy Lee. And the evil behind. Oh, boy. Well, anyway, we're getting all caught up here. So that's good to see everybody out there with that.
The cat has no shame.
This is going to be a fun show, folks. So just hold on to your hats. But anyway, just want to make sure I get everybody's comment. So yeah, it's crazy, Ross. 94. My God. Oh, wow. God bless him.
Yeah, and the fact that he just keeps going, and I mean, if you go to his Wikipedia page, the photo they have posted is from like 2023. he looks like he's 10 years older than us, if we're lucky.
If we're lucky. Yeah, I know. Yeah. He's amazing. I mean, I've been very fortunate to get to see him up at the Star Trek Original Series set tour. I got to see him last year, and that was in July. I think it was July last year, and he's just amazing. I mean, signing the autographs for the fans. I mean, it was in the heat. I mean, the heart and the heat of summer in July, and just amazing. I mean, he goes up there twice a year, but even with that, though, I mean, what he's producing, and he did his documentary that he did last year. Also had the opportunity to see him. Jeffrey was, Jeffrey Morris was doing his documentary, the Eagle Obsession, and William Shatner was a part of that, which was pretty amazing. And it's just he just keeps going. So very, very cool.
Well, there's a maxim. It's attributed to a bunch of people, but Arthur Fiedler used to say, "To rest is to rust," and I think Shatner kind of lives by that. The man just keeps moving, and that's what keeps him vital, I think.
Oh, I would agree, and I mean that's true. I mean, I think there are a lot of people that are afraid to stop, because if they stop, it's like, then what, And it's true, but he, truly amazing. If you've never seen him in person, whether if you go up to the Star Trek Original Series set tour, which is a wonderful place to see him because he's on the Enterprise. I mean, it's the Enterprise. But if you have the opportunity to see him in person, even elsewhere, Shari and I saw him with Vince and Deb Jacoby probably about 14 years ago. It was with the State Theater in Easton. He was doing his one-man show. I mean, even then, you figure that was what, 2012, 13 years ago. I mean, he was 81. He was up there, and he was up there for a solid 2 hours, and it was just him. It was incredible.
I was there that night. I didn't see you. I was there. That was the second time I saw it, because I caught him in Philadelphia.
Right.
And I said to my friend Paul, it was so good. I said to my friend Paul, who's in Easton, I said, "Come on, we got to go again and catch this."
Yeah.
And so we did. I didn't see you, Roy. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we probably...
You ran out the back door.
Yeah, I beamed out, Ross. Speaking of beaming, Shari said, "Think you got beamed out of the room before." Beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah.
What planet did you go to? Hey, I want to say hi to May. May is joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. Great to see you out there. And Dennis said it's all that space travel that keeps him younger. Yeah,
that's absolutely. We keep slingshotting around the sun.
Hey, Jeffrey's out there. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey,
thanks
Jeffrey.
for joining us. Good to see you.
And
thanks, Jeffrey. Yeah, on the other side of everything now, so which is good, but appreciate that. So good to see you out there as well too. But so anyway, I thought it would be fun tonight to discuss. Now, I did say favorite William Shatner TV in movie roles. What I should have said is just a range of movie and television roles that he's done. I've actually created a few images, a few slides just to talk about. But what I am going to do is I'm going to offer the folks out there to, if you'd like to, I mean, obviously you can always put your comments in the chat section and we'll discuss, your thoughts. But I will take it a step further and invite folks, if you want to come on live and talk about either a TV role that William Shatner did that you really enjoyed, or even a movie. And I'm going to try to limit this to maybe like 5 minutes per person. I don't know if we're going to get a lot of people. If not, Ross and I will do our thing that we always do. But
I'll be out of here at 9:00 Eastern time, though.
Yeah, we'll stick to the
warned.
Okay. Jeff Rubel. I knew somebody was going to say that, Jeff, and I should have known it would have been you. Now, for those folks that remember Jeff actually came on and we talked about the Omega Man, Ross's favorite movie when he was 5 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, Devil's Reign is a great favorite too.
Yeah. It's funny talking about the Devil's Reign. Vince and I were at a Star Trek convention. This was back in 2003. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vince. And we saw William Shatner, and it was up in Syracuse. And somebody in the audience was talking. I guess he was opening it to conversations or whatever. And somehow somebody shouted out about the Devil's Reign. And William Shatner just, he had the mic and he looked out and he said, "Do you mock me, sir?" And that always stuck with me. So it was a lot of fun.
And when was that?
That was in 2003 it was a Star Trek convention. It was a creation convention.
Yeah, at some point he turned a corner. He really became kind of self-aware and developed a sense of humor about himself. I think. I don't know him well, but it seems to be sometime maybe in the 90s he started to become he transformed. He went from being an actor to a personality, and not afraid to entertain on his image, cash in on his image, if you will, and everybody loved him for it.
No, you're absolutely right about that.
Except for George Takei.
Ross. Michelle Diato's out there. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining us. She's joining us from Connecticut, and she said, "Hey, Rory. Hey, Ross, and Kat." Just got back from a music
shot. Yeah. Yeah. Hello.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm.
And let's see. Bill saying, "Did he transform around the time he hosted?" Well, you just took the words out of my mouth. That was actually in December of '86, Bill, and that was
still a little early.
That was early, but that was around the first time when he did that whole thing with that skit, because he's getting ready to go out to dinner with his wife or his girlfriend, or in the skit that they're doing, and he's staring in the mirror and he's just like going, "Look at those lats," and he's like,
That's true.
You got it right here.
That's true.
You don't even need to go out. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's true. Because I always kind of lump that as a little too close to the TJ Hooker period, but that's true. He did do things like that. It's more like when he starts getting toward the Price line, and he'll do anything. Well, he always would do anything. Face it. This is a guy who was not afraid to work.
No, but think about it. And he has so many facets of his career. I love, get a life, Michelle. Exactly. Right.
Right.
That whole skit. I remember going to a creation convention, and it was probably right after that. And I was walking by, and there were a few vendors or dealers, and they were ticked off. They were going on about him, and they were just like so bent out of shape. And he even said at the beginning of this, when he was doing the opening narration, he said, "I hope, the fans have a good sense of humor." What was it? "I hope the fans have a good sense of humor tonight, or else I'm going to be in deep trouble." And it was a joke. It was.
I remember it was before the internet, and there was so much blowback. Yeah. Could you imagine if now he would just get slaughtered on social media?
Yeah.
Doing something like that.
But in regards to his career, obviously for me personally, it was Star Trek, the original series. That's where I was introduced to Captain Kirk. But we watched Star Trek in the 70s. It was, early 70s, at least for me, 72, 73.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the internet. In fact, I remember there was a book that came out, and it was William Shatner, We're No Man, and it was a biography. But what was so cool about the book was that there were a lot of early photos in there of William Shatner, and there was also photos from the different movies that he had been in, and I thought that was really cool. And I would have loved to have seen these movies back at that time, but it was like pre-cable. It was basically 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. If you had a premium station, it was either HBO or Prism in this area, and they really weren't showing films from the 1960s and the 1950s. You might catch those on maybe some of the syndicated networks, but if you were lucky, and if they did show it, it was like once and done. It wasn't something that they showed over and over again. So we
Yeah.
weren't really privy to that. And seeing these films in the book was pretty cool.
Yeah, the genre stuff, sometimes it would catch, like the kind of the horror things. Like Devil's Reign was on television.
Right.
The other one where he plays the alcoholic ex-priest or whatever. Yeah, there with the airplane movie. What was it? The Horror at 37,000 feet.
Horror 37,000 feet. That's right.
Yeah, that would be on. And of course, the earlier ones he did, The Outrage and Brothers Karamazov, the ones from the 60s where he didn't have big parts, but he was, he was still, still had lines. I mean, he was in all throughout The Outrage, in and out of the different sequences. And and he played one of the brothers in Brothers Karamazov.
That actually had a really good cast. I mean, you had Yul Brynner, you had Richard Basehart, Albert Salami was in that. And I'm missing, I think was Matt's Maria.
Richard Basehart. Oh, and Lee J. Cobb was the dad. Yeah.
He was the father. Claire Bloom was also in that film.
Right, right.
What
The Outrage, Paul Newman, Edward G. Robinson was in it.
Robinson, that's right. Yeah.
There were a lot of big actors in that too. Claire Bloom. Yeah.
Claire Bloom again. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Lawrence Harvey. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize he was in that.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was that great a movie because it's a remake of Rashomon, which is one of the Akira Kurosawa is considered one of the classics of world cinema. You always hear about the Rashomon effect or Rashomon. How many shows or movies have you seen where they'll tell a story and it'll all be from eyewitness accounts and everybody will tell the same story, but you get 3 or 4 or 5 different perspectives on the story. Well, it starts with Rashomon, and that was kind of the most famous film that did that. So when you hear Rashomon effect or Rashomon narrative, that's what they're talking about.
It goes back to that. Yeah.
And then it just what's true, and who's telling the truth.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I did say television and movie roles, but also we can't really even forget about stage. The World of Susie Wong with Franz Nguyen. I mean, that was 1958.
Yeah, and then there's a clip on YouTube there where they recreate some of it on the is it the Ed Sullivan Show, isn't it?
The Ed Sullivan Show, yes. Yeah. And it's probably a good 3 minutes long. And it's really good.
Yeah.
Now I was talking to Bill Scrata, who's not out there tonight, but if you go to New York, and I forget exactly where, but they do have archived a lot of Broadway shows from the past. I don't know if they have this one, but to me, to be able to go into the city, I think you have to be a member or you have to join. It's I don't want to say it's a society, but it's almost like it's some kind of dues, and you can actually watch vintage productions that took place on Broadway. And I would love to see this if it was available. But had you ever heard about that, Ross?
What's that?
Had you ever heard
from you about how they film all of them? This seems like kind of early. I wonder if they would have done it. But yeah, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, I would love to see Frank Langella and Dracula.
Oh my God!
I would love to see Amadeus with again Langella was he wasn't the one that created the role, but he was in it with I think Mark Hamill, and I mean there were different casts that played these things, and I wonder if they just filmed it once or if they did it with all the different leads. Because Broadway shows, if they were hits, they would go through several.
Right. There's different cast members, and people come and go. There's different runs. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. My guess is it's probably only maybe
only once. Yeah,
once.
Yeah, but to see Langella and Dracula would be cool with the Edward Gorey sets. Yeah,
that was around 77, 78, I think, probably.
Yeah, 70s.
Yeah, late 70s. I mean, the movie was somewhere around that time frame, and it was, I think, prior. The film was.
It was before the movie.
Yeah,
that
would be really cool. Jeff said, "Pray for the Wildcat." Oh, "Pray for the Wildcats." Yes, that was with Andy Griffith. I think he did that, and also, oh my goodness, Robert Reed was in the "Pray for the Wildcats," if I remember correctly. That's a 70s movie that William Shatner was in.
Huh. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know that one. There's so much of his stuff that I've not seen, even stuff I really want to see.
Hmm.
I've never seen The Intruder. I've never seen Incubus, the one that's in Esperanto. I mean, what a
Right.
trip that would be to watch a whole movie in Esperanto.
I've actually watched that.
Oh,
It's
have you?
interesting.
Yeah, I still
It
haven't seen it.
it is there is subtext with it though. It's so
Yeah.
you can at least try to understand. Did you now? I know you're obviously Nero Wolf, but did you ever see this production or see the
I have
pilot?
not. I thought that this didn't go into a series. It was like a pilot or something,
It
wasn't
was
it?
a pilot, yeah.
So he plays Archie. Who plays Nero?
Nero is Kurt Kasner, who was, if you are a fan of Land of the Giants, he played Fitzu on that show.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, this is also available on YouTube. Again, YouTube is really cool for that kind of stuff.
Never heard of it. Where do you find this YouTube, Roy? Oh yeah, but it's definitely. I mean, if you don't have somebody to remind you or tell you to look for it, you have to stumble across it. So
Absolutely, it's a great resource. Now, one step beyond for the folks out there who remember, it was called back in the day Alcoa Presents. John Newland, who hosted the series, it was an anthology series. It was on for 3 seasons, and almost very Twilight Zone-ish. In fact, it premiered, I believe, right before Twilight Zone, if I'm remembering correctly. In fact, this specific episode, The Promise, that William Shatner starred in, was the very first episode that was for the show. So kind of coming full circle with that. Back on April 3rd of 2020, when this show premiered, it was called Remembering Science Fiction Television Show Series, Movies and TV of the 1960s and 70s. I had on as my very first guest, Captain Phil, and we talked about this specific episode, and he had never seen it, and he really enjoyed it. So it was it's always been a favorite. And again, it's available on YouTube, and you can also purchase it, I believe, on DVD as well. And whoops, obviously the Twilight Zone, the first one, and we've covered this episode on the show, Nick of Time.
yeah, and this one doesn't seem to get the recognition, or it doesn't seem to linger in the popular consciousness as much as the other one that he did. But it's very good, Nick of Time. He's very good at it. Yeah.
And Patricia Breslin, I believe, played his wife in that. In fact, if you're a Batman TV series fan, Chief O'Hara, Stafford Rapp, was actually in that. He played a mechanic.
Oh, wow. That's right. Yeah. Here, let me shut this door. The cat's out.
No problem. Bill is saying One Step Beyond was supposedly based on true stories. Yes, Bill. In fact, John Newland would do the opening narration and the closing narration, very similar to what Rod Serling would do. And it really dealt with the mystique and the supernatural. In fact, there is an episode where they actually dedicated going to I'm not sure what country they went to, but it really delved into the lore of the history or the mythos, I can say. Oh boy, you're surrounded tonight, Ross. Wow.
Filipino locks and bolts between us, Mary Kate. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, as soon as I closed the door, he ran up to it. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
I don't know what's going on with him. He's like a boa constrictor.
Yeah. And how about Judgment at Nuremberg?
Yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
All-star
Everybody was in
cast
that.
with
Yeah.
that movie.
Even Maximilian Schell.
Maximilian Schell, yeah, from 1979 film The Black Hole that we would, later.
Yeah.
Years later.
He's in Judgment of Nuremberg, but we remember him from the Black Hole.
Well, sci-fi. I'm doing the sci-fi.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. And he had a long career.
Yeah, he did.
Cat scarf.
Spencer Tracy, and I think that's who William Shatner's with right there.
Yep.
Judy Garland is in the second photo.
Sure.
With him. In fact, again, we're talking about YouTube videos. There's and actually, hold on one second. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna post it in the chat. But there is actually a YouTube video out there, and William Shatner, I don't know when he recorded this. It wasn't probably that long ago, but he talks about doing Judgment of Nuremberg, and I'm sharing it in the comments section if folks want to check it out. And how, he said he was a very young actor doing that film, and he was doing theater in New York, and then he was called to do that. But can you imagine, figure he was 30 years old at the time when that was filmed, 29, 30, and then you're working with,
yeah.
I mean, how incredible is that?
Bill Lancaster and everybody else. Yeah.
That's really something.
Well, when he had that breakthrough at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival, when he filled in for Christopher Plummer,
right,
on Henry V, because Christopher Plummer had a kidney stone, and he just stepped in. He's playing a very small role. He's playing Duke of Gloucester, and he had to step in for Christopher Plummer. And fortunately, he knew his lines, at least for the most part. He got through it. When he tells the story, it's very funny. It's like, oh yeah, everything. He got everything. It was perfect. He had the audience in the palm of his hand, and what have you. And then he gets like one of the last scenes and totally blanks.
Wow.
But he managed to pull it out. There was just a very long pause as he walked around the stage and did some business. He thought he could get a line from another actor, and everybody just kind of looked at him. But anyway,
what you call a dramatic pause, Ross?
A very dramatic pause. But he got good notices, and there were projections at the time that he was going to become a much bigger actor than he became. There were comparisons drawn to people like Paul Newman and Steve McQueen, but it just never came to that. And there was somebody in the New York Times, I think, wrote about it, and he posits that it's because Shatner just kind of worked, so he took anything and he just did anything. But there were other actors that did that too, and they became big. But he's from Canada, made his career in the United States on television and in the movies for the most part. But you go over to the UK, you go over to England, there are guys like that who their whole careers are like that. Look at Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing, or those guys did anything. And I guess there's a comparison to be drawn there, because unlike guys who are leading men, unless you're Harrison Ford, where you can kind of keep going for decades, you don't really have that same level of respect or the same paycheck. You don't get the same parts. But if you're a character actor, it seems like you can go from decade to decade to decade.
But he was so busy though, Ross, because he was doing so many. He was doing working the golden age of television.
Absolutely, he never stopped. Stopped working. As long as the phone rang.
Yeah. He was always appearing and doing different things. The one slide I don't have is, and I wanted to mention it, was from The Defenders, and that was actually an independent film, and it was almost like I was going to say a pilot, but I don't think it wasn't conceived as a pilot, I don't believe. But he did that with Ralph Bellamy, and that was in the late 50s, and he is playing the son. It's a father and son. Ralph Bellamy is his father, and William Shatner's the son, and they're playing attorneys, defense attorneys, and that's called The Defenders. And Steve McQueen, in one of his earliest roles, is the person that they are defending. But he did not take it as a series, didn't want to do that as a series. But the irony is the same producer that was doing that show later on did For the People. And I'm jumping around a little bit, but For the People came out in 1965. And it was a series that he had right before Star Trek. And this show is also available on YouTube. In fact, I'll be honest with you, when I was in the hospital, I was trying to keep myself, entertained, so to speak. There were only 13 episodes of this series filmed, and it was on between, I think it was almost like a mid-series replacement, but it was on between like January and April of 1965. And do you remember the actress Jessica Walter?
Yes.
She played his wife in that series,
Huh.
and they had really good chemistry too. And in this series, though, for the people, he is playing as an assistant DA, so it's kind of reversed of what he was doing in regards to what he did in the Defenders. And mind you, it's probably like about 7 years later. And unfortunately, the series, it wound up going off the air. I think it was because of ratings. I believe in Bonanza, which was really popular at the time. I think it went up against Bonanza, and I think that was the reason, if I remember correctly. But don't quote me on that.
Man, yeah, you get Jonathan Harris showing up doing Charles Dickens on Bonanza, and that's it. You're canceled.
There you go. Hey, the Hague is out there. I just want to say hey to John. John, welcome. He said Boston Legal later used the Defenders as part of the flashback story. Oh, okay. I did not know that.
I was going to mention Boston Legal. I had no idea. Yeah.
Thanks for
sharing.
Make
a joke about that.
He said they used clips of that in Boston Legal. Very cool.
Wow.
Sue is joining us from Massachusetts. Sue, welcome. Saying hi, Roy. I wonder if One Step Beyond was a bit of a precursor to his love of the unknown, including his work as the host on The Unexplained.
That's right.
That's right.
By the time he started doing The Unexplained, I can't even keep track of what he's doing anymore. Something happened.
Jonathan Harris. We're doing.
Yes, right. He went from Jonathan Harris turns up as Charles Dickens on Bonanza. There's another actor who just kept working. But we talked about there was the Shatner, the actor, and then kind of Shatner, the self-aware actor later. But but then something just exploded. Like when he hit his 80s, I think something exploded. I just can't keep track of anything that he's done. Because he's always doing something. It's like, why do he has another TV series and he's doing this, he's doing that. Yeah,
I know. Right around where people are like winding down and retiring, it's like he's reinventing himself even that much more. Which is,
he goes to space at 90. I figured that had to be like, what are you going to do after that? I mean, what's he going to do? Fist fight the devil? I mean, what are you going to do? He's done everything.
Well, it's like a quote from the Star Trek episode, the Ultimate Computer, when they're talking about Dr. Richard Daystrom. Kirk and McCoy are talking about how at 25, Daystrom was he was like a prodigy. And Kirk says to McCoy, McCoy says to Kirk, where do you go from up? It's like, you hit the top, and you hit the top so young, it's like, what's next? And Michelle is saying he's going to Disney World, Ross. So, yeah. But anyway, if you have the opportunity to see For the People, definitely check it out. We were talking about Judgment in Nuremberg. Also, now there's another 1961 film. It's called The Explosive Generation. This film was listed in that biography that I was telling you about, and I was very curious about it. And it has pretty much, there's a few actors that are known. Patty McCormick is in it. Edward Platt, who was in Get Smart. In fact, he plays the administrator of the school.
He's right there in the middle. Yeah.
He's right in the middle. Yep.
Yeah.
Beau Bridges is also one of the students. He's in the third picture, all the way to the left. So, yeah, up and coming actors and actresses that would later become known.
What an era. There was so much live television going on, too, still. 50s was the heyday for that, but he was doing live things also.
Yep. And the play, going back, plays A Shot in the Dark. William Shatner and Julie Harris on Broadway.
Yes, and his was the part that was rewritten for Peter Sellers in the movie. Yeah, so I wonder how. I've never seen the play, so I don't know what they changed. Yeah.
Now that would be another one that would be really cool to see.
Walter Matthau won the Tony for this.
Yeah.
So, and Julie Harris was in it. Yeah.
Another Tony Award winner. Now, jumping ahead, he gets the 19th. Did you ever see this film, The Intruder?
I have not. This is Roger Corman, though. Roger Corman said he learned a valuable lesson when he made this movie. I remember he said that something along the lines of he would never make a message movie again because it's the only film he ever lost money on, he said. Was The Intruder.
And they went down south to film it too, and it was I
know. Yeah.
And that was 1962. Bill saying Shatner talks about doing TV in the 50s with Hugh cameras in Canada. Interesting. Yeah, not a happy film by any means, Ross. Yeah, it's very, very disturbing. Going back to television, obviously the second incarnation, The Twilight Zone, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Yeah, everybody remembers this one. Yeah, because Richard Donner directed it too.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
and that is as the Gremlin. That's Nick Cravett. It was Burt Lancaster's best friend growing up, but he never lost the accent.
I remember we were talking about.
Yeah. So he's in all of these Burt Lancaster era movies, but he seldom has any lines because he just sounds like he came from New York, from Brooklyn or wherever they grew up. So he's usually like Burt in the Swashbucklers that Burt did. He was always like his mute sidekick.
What film were we discussing, Ross, when we were talking about that?
Yeah, was he in something? I was talking about not the Buccaneer, the Crimson Pirate. But I don't remember when Nick Cravett came up.
Because we were talking about a film with Burt Lancaster, and Nick Cravett had worked with him on that film, but I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't think of what it was. It was a few years ago.
Did you cover a film with Burt Lancaster?
Yeah, I don't.
Or was it one of our digressions?
No, he was in the movie. He definitely
was in the movie. Yeah.
It's crazy. Well,
science fiction movie. Fiction movie. What's that?
There's 256 episodes of the show.
I'll have to go back and watch them this weekend to see which one where we mentioned Nick Cravett. There's got to be a program out there where you can just search the audio.
I'm sure. I'll tell you what, Ross. I'll get on it. You want to start from the beginning, or do you want to start from the back end?
Well, they literally ran off and joined the circus. Burt Lancaster and Nick Cravett. They were an acrobat team.
I distinctly remember talking about that, and I knew that was Nick Cravett. And when you said that, I was immediately trying to think of what was the film we were discussing. And it's
we didn't do Trapeze or anything. What did we do? We didn't do a circus movie, did we?
No.
No.
Anyway, maybe one of the fans out there that's watching us tonight happened to tune in and remembers.
We did Dr. Lowe. I know Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe, but Burt Lancaster wasn't in that one.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll figure it out.
Maybe Nick Cravett turned up in something else that where he didn't have a speaking part. I don't know.
Did you ever see Alexander? Yeah. Did you see Alexander the Great?
No, and I keep meaning to watch this. I understand it's not great, but the cast is unbelievable to make your head explode.
John Cassavetes is in it.
Yeah.
You have Adam West. West. And William Shatner and Adam West, two icons working in the same film.
And Joseph Cotton.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's only an hour long. This is on YouTube also, or it was the last time I checked. So
I actually have a DVD copy of this movie. I actually have 2 copies of it. So I should, if we had talked about it yesterday, but next time I see you, I'll let you borrow the DVD.
He talks about it in that show Shatner's World that he did, or he puts up the slide and briefly talks about it. I know Adam West didn't think very highly of the movie itself. Yeah, it didn't get picked up for a series. So.
Well, they wound up showing it in 1968. I think they shelved it for about 4 years, and because it was shot in 64. But Bill is saying sometimes Shatner's big acting fits the roles, and sometimes it doesn't. Nightmare 20,000 Feet definitely benefits from his over-the-top style.
No, I totally agree. He's an actor that is perfect in certain roles, and in other roles is just. You just gotta just go with it.
Yeah, I really have to say though, I enjoyed his even more, like the work that he did before Star Trek. I love seeing his earlier performances. I just think, and granted, he is over not as much as the later stuff. I mean, it was almost like, as you were saying, it's what's the word, caricature. He almost became a caricature of himself when he reinvented himself. I mean, he really
like kind of self-aware and plays on his it would be a caricature, except it's not, because he kind of harnesses it. You know what I mean? He's controlling it. It's not like he's It's not like he's trying to replicate his success as T.J. Hooker or Captain Kirk, and you know, I mean, he's playing on his persona, but you know, he's doing it and he's in control. He's in the driver's seat. You know what I mean? It's like you can't make fun of him because he's making fun of himself, kind of. You know?
No, and Vince and I saw. It was June of 1992, and we saw Love Letters, and we saw that it was in oh my goodness, where was it? It was in Pennsylvania. It was at what's the Equity Theater? It's in the Bucks County Playhouse, I think it was.
Oh, okay. You saw him?
And yeah, and he was there, and now he was doing Love Letters with his wife at the time, who was Marcy Lafferty, his second wife. And he was excellent. She was excellent. They were both great. And he really is a really good actor. I mean, I almost take he knows what he's doing. And yes, he does have a style, but in that role though, I mean, he nailed it. He was really good. And, you know, when you see him on stage, and especially like at conventions, and this is what the point I wanted to bring up. When he's on stage at a convention, it is almost like a performance. He's performing for the audience. I mean, he's putting on a show. It's not him. It's him talking about him, but he's in the performance mode. And after, you know, he gets off stage and that's that. But after we saw Love Letters, I mean, he came out and we were backstage, and it was a different type of atmosphere. Now you got to remember too, this is before things he kind of like mellowed out on a certain level. This was Star Trek was really huge, and you know, Star Trek: The Next Generation was only in its maybe fourth or fifth season at this point. Next Generation was 87, so fourth season. Fourth going into fifth. The point is though that the folks that were going to an Equity Theater they could be Star Trek fans, but it was a different type of fan that was there, and it was a different type of persona that he had. And it wasn't like, you know, you're at a convention and they're trying to like rope him out, and you know, you can't even get near him. It was just afterwards he was signing, you know, the programs and allowing you to take pictures. Vince even commented, he said Love Letters was great. In fact, Vince, do you remember, and this is back in the day, folks, when, you know, we didn't have our you know, cell phones as cameras. So I had my little box camera and I'm trying to take pictures, and guess what? I didn't have any film in the camera, and I was like, I left the film in the car. And I was like, oh my God. But I still actually have
and then you saw Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So when was this? Mid-80s or?
No, this was June of 1992.
It was that late, and you could get near him.
Yeah.
Because I would figure by that point the whole cult would have been so big, and so were they? Was this?
It was a different type. That's what I mean. It wasn't. I just want to say hi to Henry. Henry, thanks so much. Much appreciated, and great to see you out there as always. And also, I just want to say hi to Michael Miller. He's out there. He said, I just joined. I'm posting from the hospital. Mike, I hope you're doing okay. Sorry to hear about you being in the hospital. And he said, my first and favorite of Shatner is Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Now, thank you for sharing, and we hope that you're going to be well soon. No, Ross, it was different. It was a different atmosphere because it was like, and I'm as much of a Trekkie, whatever you want to call, but as a fan of Star Trek, but it was just a different type of fan base that was at that performance. I don't know how to put it.
Because if you were to do something like that now, I imagine he would be mobbed. You know, he couldn't just walk out the stage door. You know, but So when did they start with the whole thing with the charging for the autographs and these things where they had these mega things where they would have 1,000 nostalgia actors from all these TV shows and movies, and they put them into, you know, and it's just like ka-ching, you know, all right, $75 next. When did that start?
It's definitely progressed into more of a business over the last, I would probably, it was that way years ago, but I think it's over the last 20 some years. I mean, time is just flying by now where we're at, but I would probably say at least 20, but I remember going to the conventions, and you would pay for an autograph, but there
Mm.
were conventions that you would go to. Like I'll say it, I'll put it out there. There's Space 1999 fans out there. The Space 1999 conventions, the earlier conventions, you would just get autographs. I think for more of the um, conventions that were more organized and not fan based, more business based, it really just started, developing into more of a business. And
But
things.
around when do you think? Was it the 21st century, or was it
No,
already happening
it
in the
was it was
90s?
it was it was before then. Yeah,
It was already happening in these-
I think in the 21st century things have really gotten expensive.
Yeah.
But my first Star Trek convention, my first convention period that I went to was in September of '86, and that's a good question, Ross. I'm trying to
I mean,
remember.
I know they existed. I know conventions existed, but I don't know when it all became this big.
Yeah,
Like when did the man ruin the conventions?
yeah, I know. It's just, but
You know,
here's the
it's
thing.
like you go
But
to the
here's the thing.
ballpark and yeah, go ahead.
But here's the thing, though. In order to, it is a business, and in order to bring in these folks
Yeah,
to come to these events, it costs
right,
money. You know what I mean? You
right,
have to. There's the flights. There's the hotel accommodations.
right.
There's the food. So there's a whole aspect of it. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much where that comes into. In regards to and I'm being really obnoxious here, where it's $1,000 for an autograph, you know what I mean, or like $5,000 or $10,000. And again, I'm it's never going to be that expensive. But my point is, where it gets very expensive, I mean, it really depends on the event, and it's just there is nostalgia about it, and depending
Mm.
upon the specifics, it really depends. It's
And they're not all Shatner. I mean, some of them were,
no,
somebody who played, the third alien from the bar in Star Wars,
yeah,
that
no.
kind of
I mean,
thing. And it's the only thing that they've got.
anywhere. I mean, there's
Yeah,
online events that, I mean, even
yeah,
during COVID,
yeah.
people were doing coming online, and then maybe they were purchasing autographs. But
Mm,
on the flip side of it, though, too, to be fair, and people, that some of the folks are retired, they're not acting anymore, they're not doing things. It's a way for them to generate income. So
mm,
I personally don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that there's different levels to it, and depending upon what it is, it's going
yeah.
to garner different prices. But it's it depends on the event, it depends on how special it is. I mean, if you're just getting somebody's autograph and they're just for a signing of an autograph, and it's an exuberant amount of price, I mean, it is part of it too. Is what can happen is you purchase something and then you go and sell it. And I think that really affected things too. I think
Mm,
maybe a lot of the stars would sign autographs, but then
mm,
what was happening is a lot of fans would get autographs, and then maybe they didn't get it personalized. And what they would do is, and I'm saying
mm.
before eBay, before anything like that, they would
Yeah.
go and sell it. So really, these actors, and I'm not talking about Star Trek, I'm talking about any actors, are pretty much doing this to be gracious, to be nice.
Mm.
And then what happens is their signature is being pretty much pawned out, and people are making money off of it. So
Oh,
it's
I used to do that all the time when I was in the book business. I take first editions and if authors are reading, I get them signed all the time and sell them.
well, there you go.
But but yeah, but when I was a kid and I go to the ballpark and stuff, you get a baseball signed if you got near a ball
Right.
player. You know what I mean? They didn't charge you for it.
I think where it really changed, Ross, is where people started trying to make it into a business. I mean, maybe fans,
Yeah.
where it's if they try to sell items, I think that
Mhm.
that may have been the reason.
Mm.
I just want to catch up on some of the comments here. Bill said Nick Meyer was brilliantly able to help Shatner go deeper into his performance. Perfect direction, star combination. Yes, absolutely, Bill.
Mm.
Vince said autograph prices have skyrocketed since COVID.
Mm.
And I see Bob Mack is out there. Bob, thanks for joining. Good to see you out there. And he said, saw Shatner 2 years ago to Wrath of Khan screening, $200 plus for the ticket, including a very quick photo with him. No autographs allowed. Glad to see you, Roy. No, thanks
Wow.
so much, Bob. Yeah, it really depends upon the event that's occurring.
Mm.
Bill also said they had Star Trek conventions at SUNY Stony Brook in 1980 while I was there, but I'm sorry to say I didn't go.
Mm.
And Let's see. Mike is saying my first real big Star Trek convention was in New York around 1990. Both Shatner and Stewart were there. It was a bit overwhelming.
Wow.
That must have been something to have seen. And I remember when they were advertising that, they were I think they believe they were calling it like the Two Captains. And he said, I never sold anything I had autographed by anybody.
Oh, I sold some big autographs, and I'm sorry. I mean, people that aren't around anymore. I didn't have them personally autographed, but when you have a business, you got to choose between whether you're a collector or if you got to pay the rent, and unfortunately, I let some good ones go. Yeah.
No, and that happens with collectibles. I mean, you purchase collectibles, and then what happens is you might find yourself in a situation, and I mean that it absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's in regards to, I'd love to do a show about conventions, just about different conventions folks have been at. What was your first convention? Your convention memories? Who was your first actor or actress that you had met? How was it? Different types of events. I think that would be a fun discussion, and I thought about that a while ago, and I'm glad we're kind of like talking about that. We kind of digressed a little bit, but
no, well, it's interesting. I think it's interesting probably to people out there too, but I don't know. Maybe we're being self-indulgent, but
no, not at all.
Oh, not at all. Never.
Not you, Ross. Anyway,
I'm thinking about
I am going to put it out there again, folks. I'll just, if anybody would like to come on to talk about William Shatner, any favorite television episodes or favorite movies, you are welcome to come on. I will send the StreamYard link in the comments, and you will be able to come on live with us for a couple of minutes to talk about it. I'm just putting it out there. So,
do you have any stills of Shatner on the Howdy Doody show?
I don't.
Supposedly that was his first gig in the U.S.
I had heard he was on that, but no. Did you come across anything?
I didn't look, but he played Ranger Bob.
Ranger Bob, wow.
Yeah, a couple of years before Brothers Karamazov. And it doesn't seem like much. You go, okay, so it was a few years before Brothers Karamazov. But when you're sitting there waiting for that phone to ring, when you're an actor and you're on the Howdy Doody show and you're only in a few episodes or whatever, I just can't imagine just doing that for a living. As I get older, I can kind of relate to what that is just because of my work in if you do any kind of writing or radio or anything like that, you get there's some days you don't want to do it. You know what I mean? And I can't imagine as an actor getting up every morning and putting yourself in that position, even if you get the work and going in and having to do something, unless you're like the star of the movie and you're really gigged about the part or whatever. But if you're sitting around and somebody's going to offer you a commercial for shaving cream, or you're going to be you're going to be like with Clarabelle the Clown on Howdy Doody or something like that. How do you do it? You know what I mean?
Well, it is though too. I mean, if you think about it, it is a paycheck, and you're trying to support. Yeah, I mean,
but the thing is you're putting yourself out there. It's not like a paycheck. You understand? If I write something, I'm putting myself in it, and I put it out there, and other people are going to look at it. And if it sucks, they say, "Boy, this guy sucks. He really wrote a bad article." Or if I do a radio show and it's not up to my standards, I'm embarrassed sometimes. It depends on. I don't like to listen to myself sometimes. It just depends. Some days I'll go, "Oh, that was pretty good," and other days, "Oh, that was terrible." And it could be the same show. You don't know. It's so subjective, and I can't imagine being just basing your entire career on yourself and having to deal with that. But I think that's also why the actors have so much turbulence in their lives often, and people mistake them or characterize them sometimes as egocentric and everything, because you get absorbed in your projects. I mean, that's your livelihood. That's what you're doing,
Well, and when you're a character actor and you're going from one production to another, especially if you're doing like episodic television, you figure they're shooting that maybe in 7 days, depending upon what the material is, if it's an hour-long episode. And I'm thinking more in terms of back in the day. I don't know what they do now, nowadays, but at least when they were shooting, like, let's say Star Trek or any of the, the primetime shows, they would shoot maybe for, 7-8 days, and then they're on to the next episode. So you're coming in, you're learning your lines as a guest artist, guest star. You're trying to hit your marks, and you have different directors that are on a series too, which, if you're a recurring actor on a show, that's got to be a little difficult because you have different perspective, different judgments as far as what, what the director wants. Maybe, some directors direct a lot of episodes. Others, maybe they're like one-time wonders. They're there and then they're never invited back because maybe they went over budget. You're supposed to shoot the show maybe in 5 days and you shot it in 6, and that costs the production money. So there's that aspect of it as well. But I think that, to your point, you're really putting yourself out there. And there's a lot of actors that don't want to watch themselves. And I get it. I didn't used to get it. I mean, I'm just talking about from doing community theater and what have you. But you sit there and you watch yourself. Even like with this show, I'll go back sometimes. And I was doing it more so maybe in the middle when you came on, Russ, it'll be 5 years in June, because you would do the comments, and during you would go back and watch the shows and do the comments. And I would even talk to Vince about it too. And I would even say that as far as watching myself, I hate it. And I didn't used to get it. And it's not like we're acting, but it's tough. You tend to be your biggest critic, or for the most part, people tend to are their biggest critic. And you see things that you don't want to see if you're taking pauses, or maybe you're you're doing that a lot, whatever the case may be. It can just be annoying. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm sitting through this. And then you're thinking about when people are watching you, if they're enjoying it or what have you. And it just kind of it makes you kind of flinch. But it's also good to go back and watch yourself, because then you can learn from your mistakes and you kind of build upon it. I cringe when I watch the earlier episodes of this show, back, from when the show started, because not only had I never done something like this before, as far as doing this where we're talking and exchanging, but the other piece of it is that all the technical issues, that trying to figure that out and trying to make sure that everything runs smoothly, like a well-oiled machine, which it still isn't after 5 years, but it's a lot better than it was back, when we started. Even, you remember how it used to be. It was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, well, I have the easy job because I just show up and I throw out the color commentary. You're there. Nobody knows it, but you're working the control. Well, they know when you glaze over, like when I say something and I pause and you're like this. That's when they know you're looking at the controls.
And now I just don't take myself as so damn serious either. I just hope that people like it and enjoy it, and we have fun, and we, bring people together, and we're laughing about it. So here you go. Anyway, let me see some comments that are out there. I just want to say hi to Leslie. Leslie just joined us. Leslie, thanks for being out there.
Happy spring.
Yeah, she's saying prayers to you that you will get stronger and discharged from the hospital soon. And that's from Sue to Michael. Very nice, Sue. Sue said Leslie said nobody but a narcissist likes the way they look or sound on tape. Yeah, I definitely make myself twinge. Mike is saying he was a guest speaker at Lehigh University. A friend took me and my family to see him. He was meeting fans outside and took photos with us. He signed things afterwards. I got his autograph and my Mr. Scott's Guide to the Enterprise. Mike, I trying to remember if I was there. Vince and I actually went to a Lehigh University, I think, to Lehigh University Trek Convention, and I think it was in the late 80s, maybe it was early 90s, and I think Nichelle Nichols was there at the time. They were doing some stuff. James Doohan was up at, was it Wilkes-Barre? Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, I believe. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Lou, you're putting me on the hot seat. Lou saying, how would you rate your performance in Found in Space?
I have to see that movie. I'll watch it tomorrow.
Honestly, Lou, I made myself cringe a lot. I wish I could have done that better. So please forgive me for my performance. I used to think, what's the big deal about acting? How is this an art? But when you actually try it, it's not easy. It's not an easy job. Yeah, it's not. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to come across that you are acting. You want to make it you want to be natural. You develop a character, and that's why it's really important to have motivation too, as far as if you have a specific character that you're playing, have like a background, have a history. So you're kind of like you know where that you're not just reading the words on the page. There's a meaning, there's a drive for it all. There's definitely
are you
a
going
lot.
method, Roy? Are you going method on us?
Yeah, there you go. Leslie's asking, no, we have not talked about Miscongeniality yet.
No.
Sherry's saying, it's okay, Ross. I get the same glazed look when I talk to him when he was on his cell phone in his hand. Nice. Oh, boy, man. Lou said, oh, you were great, Roy. No worries. Thanks, Lou. Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know about the great, but thank you. Thank you.
Definitely the turn of the proceedings.
Jack, thanks for joining us. He's saying the technical difficulties bring a definite drop. Yeah, thanks, Jack. And Mike is saying, okay, yeah.
Oh, L-Tri-C. I used to do radio there.
Did you really, Ross?
Is that Lehigh Carbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got picked up there once before I went professional. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was at Muhlenberg, and they heard me on Muhlenberg, and they took me out to do Saturdays there. Yeah.
See, it's
didn't get paid anything for it, but I got a lot of experience. It's before they changed the station. Now it's not what it was. It used to be just a student station, community station.
Gotcha.
Now it's I don't know. I don't even want to say what it is, but I wasn't on it, or I'm not on it. Yeah.
Leslie's saying that she met Walter Koenig at Chiller. You know what though? Everybody has a bad day, so I get people. He was actually at the Holiday Inn, and this is Walter Koenig I'm talking about. Chekhov. He was at the Holiday Inn off of Route 100 back in 1990. In fact, again, Vince was at that convention. We went up there. Yes, Vince, I did not include Free Enterprise. Great film. Excellent film. And Bill also commented about Dodgeball. Totally another good, fun film.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
What's the actor that's in Dodgeball? What's his name? Ben Stiller?
Was Ben Stiller in Dodgeball? Are you thinking of... was it Ben Stiller? Which one are we thinking of? Dodgeball. It wasn't...
Wasn't Ben
it's
Stiller?
Not a Farley Brothers thing, was it?
Oh, wait a minute.
Is it the
tall guy? Oh, what's his name?
I don't know.
I thought Ben Stiller was in Dodgeball. I'm pretty sure.
Was he? I don't know. I didn't see it. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't see it? What are you talking about?
I don't know.
I'm just joking. No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Ben Stiller and the other guy, Vince Vaughn is who I was thinking of.
Oh, Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn were in? I remember Vince Vaughn was in. Okay, Ben Stiller wasn't that with him?
Yeah.
All right, maybe I did see it.
But Ben Stiller's wife is actually from Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
She was one of the when they redid the Brady Bunch movie, when they did like the reboot. I think she played Marsha, if I remember correctly. Vince is saying Ben Stiller was the bad guy in Dodgeball.
Okay.
And Bob is saying Stiller was in it. Vaughn was the lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. But it's all good.
I'm educated. Awesome. I got an education.
See that? Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Oh, God. Yeah, I saw that movie a long time ago. Adam Sandler. So anyway, in regards, did you see the Man from U.N.C.L.E. episode?
I did not. That he was in. No, I did not. I saw the clip though with the two of them together in something, but I didn't see the episode. No.
And what's interesting is Leonard Nimoy was in the same episode.
Right. That's the clip that I saw. Yeah. I don't remember under what circumstances. It was a documentary, or I just was flipping through it, scanning through it.
Yeah. And then we were talking about before.
Incubus.
Well, I was trying to, if I can try it one more time for the people. We were talking about that. And then Incubus. Now, Incubus was done, I believe that was done by Leslie Stevens, who had done The Outer Limits. And this movie, they invented an entire language for this movie. It was Esperanto.
Well, it exists. Yeah.
Or it does exist. Okay.
Yeah, but it's an international language. It's I forget who created it, but they didn't create it just for this movie.
Right. My bad on that. My mistake.
It's okay. We should film a movie in Klingon.
That was my Ben Stiller moment, Ross.
Okay. There you go.
Yes, Bill, I agree. I really enjoyed For the People also. In fact, I was just saying earlier, I had the opportunity to watch that in the hospital. I watched probably the majority of the episodes, and it was really good. But yes, it was, in regards to Incubus, it was spoken, and the entire film was done in Esperanto. So that must have been a challenge. Talk about doing something that's challenging.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I gotta check that one out.
Yeah. I actually have the DVD for that too, Ross, if you want to borrow it. And then of course we have Star Trek 19th. I mean, the second pilot of Star Trek was shot in July of 1965 with William Shatner, Where No Man Has Gone Before, but was not this. The series itself was sold to NBC and then went in production in May of 1966. So essentially from 1966 to 1969, he was committed to the series. Now, in between the seasons, obviously, you have the hiatus from the summer hiatus. He had a break. There was one movie that he did. I don't know if you ever saw this movie, The White Comanche.
I did not. Another one I have to see. It's a spaghetti western.
Yeah, it was filmed in, well, it was filmed in Spain.
Yeah. They filmed a lot of those Italian westerns in Spain. So this is one I have to check out. Because that's how Clint Eastwood got his international celebrity. Was doing those. Charles Bronson, Burt Reynolds, they all did spaghetti westerns.
And I did not realize that they filmed a lot of them in Spain.
In Spain, yeah,
wow.
That was the American West.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So this is going on my list.
Yeah, he played. They were twin brothers, and there's the one that's good, and there's the one that's bad. And in fact, the actor that was, and I'm his name is escaping me. You mentioned him before. He was in Alexander the Great with William Shatner. He was also in this film.
Joseph Cotten?
Joseph Cotten, yes.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yes. Now, there was also another film that William Shatner did. I think it was in White Comanche came out in 1968. It was shot in 1967. There was a film that he did with, I think it was with Lee Remick. And I think it took place on a boat or a ship. And it was filmed between the second and third season of Star Trek. If anybody has an idea of what I'm talking about, I can't think of the title, and it wasn't the Poseidon Adventure. But anyway, William Shatner was in it, and that was done in 1968, I think.
You're trying to remember the movie?
I can't think of what the film was.
Yeah, I'm sure you could Google it.
Yeah, but I don't want to do that while we're performing.
Do you have a slide for horror at 37,000 feet or no?
I don't, but
okay.
I'll tell the audience about it.
Because I was just thinking about that film today. It was one of those that turned up on a Saturday afternoon or something when we were in high school.
Right.
And and looking back on it, it was kind of like The Exorcist meets snakes on a plane, basically. Except instead of snakes, you had druidic ghosts, evil spirits, evil druids. So
I would always catch that film when I would see it, and I didn't see it a lot, Ross, but it would always be towards the end. And it'd be like some kind of mist in the back of the plane that would be forming. And then, of course, Shatner's character gets, sucked out, and then you see this image of him going like this.
Yeah.
But I always caught it at that time.
Of course, he has a crisis of faith. It was very Exorcist. Yeah. It was not long after that when they filmed it.
Yeah, I think that came out in 1973.
1973, yeah. So that would be the era. Yeah.
Like, if I'm guessing. Did you ever see the movie For the People, or not For the People?
Oh, The People. Yeah, we did it for the show.
Yes, we did with Kim Darby.
Kim Darby, right. Yeah, with they were the sect, the Amish-like sect, the mysterious sect, but they were aliens.
Right, exactly.
Extraterrestrials.
And that was right around the same time that he did that movie, the 37,000 Feet film.
I wonder if these things, if they're available anywhere in good definition. You always get these cloudy copies on YouTube. I wonder if any of them have been preserved to the extent that you can actually tell, what's going on a little better.
The Hague to the Rescue. Perilous Voyage was the film with Liam. Thank you, John.
Okay.
That was shot.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah. Couldn't think of it. No, Michael Dante was not in White Comanche, as far as I know. So, yeah. I was right about Lee Remick, though. I thought she was in that. Yeah, but in the 70s. Now you got to remember too. Here's the thing. After Star Trek was canceled, unfortunately, what had happened was, he did have his divorce with his first wife. Yeah. And then what happened was he pretty much was doing a lot of regional theater. He actually came to New Jersey. In fact, the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn, New Jersey, he did a production there. And I think that was around 70, 71. And he always tells, there's a story that's listed in some of the books where there was a young kid, probably like around our age, that came up to him and was asking him about seeing his spaceship, because the kid recognized him as being Captain Kirk. And, he had like this like little trailer that was attached to his car, and he pretty much was, showing him around and telling him that, this was like the different compartments of the ship and everything, which is kind of an irony, because, it could have been you, Ross, or it could have been me at the same time. And, and maybe it was. But anyway, he did a lot of, like I said, regional theater, and did a lot of guest appearances on the television shows. He did Mission Impossible. He did 2 episodes of that. Just immediately it comes to my mind. He did Hawaii Five-0, The $6 Million Man. Now I do have a slide for that.
Oh yeah.
Sci-fi. That was in 74. Burning Bright with Lee Majors. What else? Do you remember The Barbary Coast?
That's another one of the Haig's favorites. He always mentions that one. It looks like kind of a, like a updating of Wild Wild West.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I kind of remember when it was on, but I didn't watch it. Yeah. So.
Now I seem to remember Dennis. Now that's Doug McClure that he's with, but I think when they did the pilot, if I remember correctly, I think he did it with Dennis Cole. And Dennis Cole, for the folks out there, I'm dating myself, but if you remember, he was married to Jacqueline Smith from Charlie's Angels back in the day.
Yeah. His greatest role.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers a CBS production. This was in August of 1976. It was called The 10th Level. If you had the opportunity to check that out, it actually involves different studies that were done, and essentially people that are in a controlled environment and doing testing on others by almost electrifying them. It's kind of bizarre. And it's kind of eerie, actually. But anyway, this was shot in New York City, in Manhattan, and they actually shot it on videotape. So when you're watching it, it kind of has that different type of appearance, because other than film. But I actually remember when it was on on CBS.
Like the way they used to do the soap operas and had the kind of like live feeling to it.
Yes.
Okay.
There was, I think, at least 6 episodes of The Twilight Zone that were actually filmed like that too. And
yeah, he was on Columbo. Yeah.
And there it is, Fate and Murder.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about this episode of Columbo, Walter Koenig was actually in that. Chekhov. Him and William Shatner never exchanged any type of dialogue or anything like that, but they were both in the same episode, which was kind of interesting. And somebody out there had mentioned Kingdom of the Spiders before too.
Yeah, which we also did on this show.
Yep.
Yeah. But he really had to kind of scramble. Yeah, well, he talks about it in his show that we saw, Shatner's World. You just think after you have a big series like Star Trek, especially with the reruns and everything, that he would be doing okay. But that was, before, they had it worked out where people would get residuals and that sort of thing. And just between the series and the advent of the movies, you have to remember it was a decade, it was 10 years. Yeah. That, he had times when he, like you said, he's in that sleeping in the trailer, after the divorce.
Well, and what's really unfair too is now it's so much time has gone by. But if you think about it, back in the 1960s, they would get commissioned. I think they were paid for, I think, 6 episodes as far as residuals. So after that, it was done. Can you imagine the money that all of them would have made had it been released in the 70s as opposed to like the late 70s or even the 80s as compared to the 60s, where that had changed? And it really is unfair when you think about it, because I mean, Star Trek was everywhere. I mean, it was on 5 days a week. It was, and it's not only Star Trek too, but a lot of those classics that we grew up with.
Look at Mr. Ed. I mean, Mr. Ed was sleeping in a trailer.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. A horse is a horse, of course.
I shouldn't laugh at my own jokes.
Done.
Yeah, but we were just talking yesterday at lunch. I mentioned that Tina Louise was in the New York Times this week, and she doesn't like to talk a lot about Gilligan's Island. It's more about what she's doing now. She's doing educational work with kids, and it's great that she's still doing stuff. But she was saying they got no residuals for Gilligan's Island, so. All the years that those were on television, and it's become such a part of our popular consciousness or pop culture. Yeah. I mean, between that and the Brady Bunch, I mean, that's basically our generation. I think everybody knows the episodes. Yeah,
if it wasn't for the movies that would take place after that, where they would benefit from that. You know what I mean? As far as when they would do the reunion movies, or if they were doing television shows, or if they were doing films. Obviously, then it's different. And this goes back to, we were just talking about conventions. If you think about it, a lot of these actors really didn't act after Star Trek. A lot of them, I mean, some of them did, but some of them did not, unless they were in a Star Trek production. Because then, of course, there's the whole thing of being typecast. I mean, William Shatner obviously escaped that. Leonard Nimoy definitely did. But a lot of the other actors did not. And it's really, how unfair is that? You go through, you find out what you want to do as far as a career, and then, you master it, or in on one level or another. And then what happens is you're fortunate enough to be doing guest starring roles. And then maybe you land a series. And then what happens is after the series gets canceled, nobody wants to hire you because they feel that if they're watching you, they're going to think of you as being from that series. I mean, the level of frustration for something like that has got to be tremendous.
Yeah, it's hard to have a success and to become so closely identified with a role. It becomes your bread and butter, but it's also manacles. You're handcuffed. And then once the series goes away, nobody wants to hire you for anything else.
And then you're not being compensated for it. I mean, if they were being compensated for it, at least it would have been. I'm not saying there would be a level of frustration.
You get the residuals.
You get the residuals. But there are actors that are in a series, and then what happens is, for whatever reason, they decide they want to pull out. They don't want to stay with it because they want to try to pursue their craft. Some of them are successful and they make it, and then others maybe not so. But it's a fine line.
It seems like you get less of that today because you get, people like, people that are respected actors don't care about slumming and doing Marvel movies and that kind of thing. And they don't get kind of typecast. Although I don't know how it works out for people like, that were the leads, like Chris Evans and what's his name? Thor. I'm doing it. I mean, they've done other things. Yeah, Helmsworth, I guess.
Yeah.
They've done other things, but I don't know.
I have to say he's a really nice guy too, because he was Vince and I, Vince and I have gone to so many Star Trek conventions and what have you, but we were in Philadelphia and we missed him, but we heard that he was at the hotel, and people came up to him to ask for his autograph, and he gave it. I mean, it wasn't like they were at the convention.
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth, and just a really, really friendly, approachable guy.
Good.
So it's when you hear stories like that, it's really nice.
And they do get other roles. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know you're not getting me wrong. They do get other roles. It's not like the old days where you just wouldn't get hired, but
it's a different time.
it being identified for other things. It is a different time. I mean, you can get Hiddlesworth or Cumberbatch, and they'll come in and they'll do, hey, I'll be Doctor Strange, I don't care, and then he'll go back and do Hamlet. He doesn't care.
But here's the thing, though, too. I mean, and these are powerhouses. They're excellent actors, and they're being compensated. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier if you're being if you achieve success and you've got the money.
Yeah,
I would think you're at that level. It's going to be a lot easier to, not worry about being typecast and jump into something else. And you're bankable because, look at Tom Cruise. To me, I'll see Tom Cruise in the majority of the movies I see him in. I always see him as Tom Cruise, but still he goes from movie to movie to movie to movie, and he plays different characters. I mean, he's been doing the Mission Impossible films. I think Mission Impossible, if I remember correctly, I think that whole now, when I think Mission Impossible, I always think the series 66 to 74. I mean, I love especially the earlier ones with Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. Leonard Nimoy, season 4 and season 5, the last 2 seasons, not so much. To me, that's always going to be Mission Impossible. There are Mission Impossible, the movies, but Tom Cruise has been doing those films. It'll be 30 years this year. I mean, those started in 95. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, but here you go.
Yeah. And it's movies are it's funny because everybody has an opinion about movies, but you could pick up a book and everybody can read a book and people will be bashful about expressing their opinions about a book or an artwork,
right,
or a piece of music, unless you're just going to trash it. Oh, that sucks. You know what I mean? But beyond that, making intelligent remarks about it, people are a little hesitant about it. But movies, everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
It's like, I could say, oh, that movie is no good. But, is my opinion better than, it's a little more informed than some, but.
Well, and here's the other thing to that too. I think with where we are today as a society, I think especially with the internet and these groups, and people are like keyboard warriors. I mean, they're so quick to comment and not necessarily positive. I mean, everybody's so quick to be critical,
right?
That I don't know.
It's easy to do that with a movie or a television show because everybody feels like they have that knowledge, that
right.
And they don't always express themselves well. They'll just say, "Oh, that sucked," like me with Lord of the Rings. But if you want to have a beer with me, and I'll sit down and I'll tell you what exactly.
I'll give you. If you sit down and have a beer with me, I'll tell you why.
I'll tell you why it sucks.
I'll give you the gory details,
and then you'll have more respect for my opinion, perhaps.
Oh shoot! Shari is saying, I liked it when he did this in regards to William Shatner. I liked it when he did the skit that goofed on Star Trek Saturday Night Live. Yeah, that was great. In fact,
is that where they made it into a restaurant? The Enterprise, is that?
That was one. Yes. that was Star Trek 5. Because Star Trek 4 had just come out, and with the whales, and what they did was they called it Star Trek 5. The Enterprise Restaurant Enterprise is what it was.
Okay. Yeah, they've done many Star Trek parodies on Saturday Night Live over the years. Yeah, I remember that.
Talking about TJ. Absolutely, TJ Hooker was on from I think it was 82 to 87, or was it 81 to 86? It was on for 5 seasons. It was in that time frame. Sue said, "Kingdom of the Spiders freaked me out, but I wanted to watch it because the lead was Captain Kirk. I kept turning the TV on, then off, then back on because I didn't like some of the scenes. But then I had to turn the TV back on because Captain Kirk was in it." Lots of laughs. There you go. And Bill is saying the main thing I remember D. Kelly doing after Star Trek was Night of the
Lepus. Yeah, it's typecast.
Yes. Oh,
I think Rory Calhoun was in that too. Or
oh my goodness, from Motel Hell.
Well, yeah, and a lot of other things, but I think he was in it. Ida Lupino, I think, was in it. Yeah.
Ida Lupino, wow.
Yeah. How the Mighty Have Fallen.
Talking about movies, Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Mm-hmm.
Now, interesting.
Star Trek's a pajama combination. What is it? Good.
Interesting thing that you mentioned too before. It's like it had been 10 years. That 10 years between 1969 and 1979, to me, always seemed like it was an eternity. But if you think back to 10 years ago, it would be 15 to 25, and I'm thinking like that's nothing, right? But
Yeah.
Back then we were only what, 13 years old, 14 years old.
It must have felt like an eternity when Shatner had to pay the bills.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I'm sure.
what other movie can I make here?
But he came back though, and
He came back.
He came back,
and yeah, it's really remarkable, the trajectory of his career. Yeah. And this was right after Wrath of Khan when he was in this.
Yes.
Year. Yeah.
Airplane. I laughed so hard from this movie. I thought it was fun. But anyway, there's a whole line of movies. There's a whole line of TV series. I mean, I kind of touched with the 80s with us, but a lot of folks have been mentioning different shows. Ross, did you have any other movies or TVs episodes or things?
I don't know. Devil's Reign was mentioned.
Devil's Reign, 75.
Yeah. He was in a movie called Big Bad Mama, which Roger Corman.
Angie Dickinson, that was from 1974. Tom Skerritt was in that movie. Yeah. Joan Prather, yep, I remember that film.
Yeah. Yeah, Corman was amazing for nurturing this these people that went on to bigger and better things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he wrote the tech war things. He did his memoir. He did albums. This is why I think, like Christopher Lee, another long-lived legend who went from being typecast in horror movies to being a superstar, that kind of transcended all media. And that's kind of what Shatner's done. But Lee too was doing heavy metal albums in his old age. So narrating on them like Vincent Price did on Thriller, and singing. He sang also. But yes, Shatner sings. He did covers. He's been doing it since I think the first one came out when he was still on Trek, the classic one, the one where he does Rocket Man,
yeah,
Lucy in the Sky with Dimes. And see, that's the thing. It's like he's more than an actor. He's a cultural force. This guy is, and he always kind of has been. And I think it probably annoyed him early on, but as he got older, he got wise. And he kind of grasped what he was and kind of like lived into it. He like leaned into it.
I mean, you talk about accomplished on so many levels, and not being afraid. I mean, obviously, in regards to the whole singing bit, I mean, to be able to do that, I mean, more power to him. I know I can't sing. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, he got parodied a lot, but I mean, it was all in love, and I think now he looks back on that stuff and he understands. I mean, somewhere in midlife, he kind of got it. Yeah. I don't think he quite got it in the 70s.
No,
it was after the 70s. Yeah,
it was definitely a shift there, but I think, but it's interesting too. I remember he was being interviewed in, I think it was around 19. I may have talked about this on the show before. It was sometime in this. It was during Star Trek: The Next Generation, or Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Next Generation, and the person that was interviewing him was talking about where he was at in his life, and in regards to Star Trek and everything, and he even said, "I am not the same person I was when I did the series." And I thought, "You're not the same person you did when you did the series." And then he even commented. He said, "People supposedly change every 7 years," and I've heard that, and if you think about it, it's true. I mean, he would have changed probably like twice by then. You're maturing, maybe most of the time.
All your cells,
you have different life experiences, like you said. Your cells. Ryan was actually my son. Ryan was talking about that, about how your whole physiology is like not what it was before,
right?
But you just have different life experiences, and you're in a different place with different things. You see things differently. And to your point, the 1970s, and now fast forward, even though the 70s feels like it was only like, maybe 15, 20 years ago, the fact that it's almost like 50 years ago or 45 years ago for sure. It's just, he's a different person, but all the check marks and all the accomplishments and the different things he's experienced, I mean, it says a lot.
I think you get more. It's easier to get more comfortable in your own skin, also when you're not struggling. When you're getting paid,
Sure.
getting adoration. You don't have to worry about where your next meal's coming from. It's easier to say, hey, this is me. I'm cool with it.
And one of the things too, I mean, we didn't really go into this, but you and I saw the documentary that he did, and he was very deep with that. I mean, he definitely is a thinker, no questions asked. And he's asking the big questions about, what's it all about? What does it all mean? I mean, different things, you stop, you hit the brakes, and it's like, you just kind of look around and you try to figure it all. And, sometimes you think you may have an answer, maybe sometimes you don't. And I mean, I've been doing that of late, with different things. It's like, especially after, life experiences, major life experiences, it's like, wow, what just happened? And it's an eye opener. And he really resonates with that. I mean, he really just seems like he's inquisitive, and it's interesting to hear him, especially when you go to some of these different functions, you may be expecting certain talks to be about one specific subject, but these shows have been around so long in regards to Star Trek that he did in the 60s. It's interesting to hear his different perspectives and the meaning of life, and just as an individual, because he definitely gets very, very deep.
Well, he's also grateful too. The Shatner's World, the show, so much of it is about, he's looking back, but he can do it from a wiser perspective, kind of thing. And he's just he realizes just how fortunate he's been, and he's grateful. And the same thing with when he got shot into space there, and then he came down, and he was very genuine and
very humble,
and had some observations about that. I mean, how much can this be, kind of playing, because, eyes are on you. So, you're not just, it's like a candid thing necessarily, but I think there is he's being genuine, to the extent that anybody in the public eye can be genuine when they talk about stuff.
Right.
And I think he realizes, he's in his what's he going to be, 93, 94?
He's going to be 94 tomorrow.
94. Like what good fortune this guy's had.
Yeah. Definitely. And, I'm not sure if Jeffrey's still out there, but, Jeffrey had the opportunity to interview him for the Eagles.
I would love to hear his insights at some point.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very deep conversation, and it's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to that being released. Some more of the comments that are coming through. Bob is commenting. He said, Family Feud started prior to Star Trek the Motion Picture. It might have been a good gig. And actually, before I read on with that, Bob had said Richard Dawson has said that Shatner was the first choice to host Family Feud prior to Dawson getting the job. And then he went on to say Family Feud started prior to Star Trek the Motion Picture. Might have been a good gig. Dawson was interviewed by the Television Academy and says his agent threatened Mark Goodson to get the host job over Shatner. Wow. Wow. I did not know that. Thanks for sharing that, Bob.
I wonder if Shatner would have been as gregarious back then, on the show as Dawson was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's see. Bill said when they released the 90s Beatles song, Ringo said we
sound like them.
We sound like them. Okay. Gotcha. John, The Hague does not like Star Trek the Motion Picture. I was disappointed when I first saw Star Trek the Motion Picture. I have to say, though, I very much enjoy the director's cut. I mean, Robert Wise went back, and in fact, Darren Dockerman, who is part of the Inglorious Treksperts, he had a lot to do with that as far as the visual effects, and they did an amazing job with that. And the extended footage definitely helps that. In fact, for the folks out there, if you've ever watched it when it was on ABC, it would be on a Sunday night movie. They would have the director's cut extra footage with those television broadcasts, and it really does definitely help.
Yeah, like you, I was underwhelmed is too strong a word, because I thought the special effects were great and I love the music.
Yeah.
But like you, I was kind of I'm going to use the word underwhelmed. I was underwhelmed by the movie when I saw it in the theater. But I don't like director's cuts. I get used to things the way they are. It's like, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I don't mind if they put it on as a bonus on your home video or whatever, watch it on DVD or what have you, or stream it. But I kind of like, I don't know. There are very few movies where I think the director's cut improves the movie.
For me, no, and I get what you're saying in regards to that, but for me, for like Star Trek the motion picture, Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, I enjoy those director's cuts because they have
it's fun to watch. And you're saying that it actually improves the first movie, which it probably does.
Yeah.
And my beef is mainly when they take something like Superman, or they take something like E.T., or they take something like Amadeus, and they do the director's cut. They do it so far after the fact,
right,
that you have all these craftsmen involved in making a movie. It's not just the director who's sitting down. I mean, he's working with an editor when they make the movie the first time, but you've got the composer, you've got the people who did the special effects, you've got you got everybody that was involved. And what you're doing is you're shutting all those people out, and you're sitting down with the machine yourself, and you're doing the editing and saying, well, this is what I want. And it ruins the balance. You don't have the Academy Award winning sometimes editing, or the Academy Award winning music. They're looping stuff in, or have to repeat phrases, or it screws everything up. So
no, I understand what you're saying, and
so to their credit, I mean, at least they allowed the original versions of those movies to be seen again. But as a result of the director's cuts, a lot of times they get suppressed for years. Like, I didn't realize Amadeus, the original cut, wasn't available for like 22 years.
Wow.
I don't know if it was showing on TV in the original cut, but they couldn't get it in theaters for 22 years.
Well, to me, that's where it hampers it, because if you have something like, well, we've talked about Star Wars. Look what's happened with all of that. And when I say Star Wars, I'm talking about, I mean, I think the folks that are watching it know what we're talking about. We're talking about the 77 version. Don't have to say episode 4, but that's just it. It's been altered so many times that you can't even get the original, piece, which is so frustrating. So I am with you in regards to that. For me, with these director's cuts, I think with these extra footages with these Trek films, to me, it's different, but I get what you're saying. And
I hear what you're saying too. And I'm sure Robert Wise is very frustrated. I'm sure there were all kinds of compromises that had to be made because they had to get this movie in the theater. And so it's not his vision. And the guy made so many classics. I'm sure that he felt like that was a weak link in his resume. But
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I don't mind watching it, but I miss the original one.
Sure.
And I like that it's pokey.
Mike is saying I like the SLV the best.
What is that?
SLV. Yeah, Mike, I'm not sure what you mean by SLV. I'm sorry.
I know people use the lingo and I can't get it.
And I'm not getting it either. So no, I apologize, but I'm not sure what you mean. Just type it in the comments.
Yeah.
Bill said, I have the original director's cut DVD done before the recent one. The new effects are better than the DVD ones. Sue saying, Ross, have you seen the director's cut of The Abyss? The extra 31 minutes not only makes the film a completely different movie, but it makes it a much better movie.
Yeah, again, I mean, I'm sure that I'm not sure, but I mean, I don't doubt that that's probably the case, and I'll watch it. But James Horner wouldn't have scored it, and it wouldn't, you know what I mean? They would have had to do some other stuff that wasn't really probably authorized by the artists. But I'll watch it just to see, what they were trying to do with it. And I don't know. Yeah.
Mike is saying saw the motion picture after Star Wars and liked the motion picture more. I was under 10 years old when I saw both. Yeah. Wow.
I really liked the Klingon ships in the first one.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Jeff is saying the extra footage helped. Really, I thought it added unnecessary subplots to an already badly edited film. Just saying, the Blu-ray is fabulous, though. Special edition.
I wonder which movie we're talking about.
Jeff was talking about Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and then he said the special edition of Aliens is better too. Yeah, see, there's another film I agree with. The extra footage.
I'll watch them. I'm too sensitive.
Yeah.
And plus, I get everything solidified. I get too nostalgic, and I get kind of stuck in my ways, I think, too. But
there's extra 17 minutes of footage or 19 minutes of footage with the Aliens movie, and it was really good. Real quick, I don't know if he's out there still, but I want to say hi to Alex McDonald. Alex, if you're still out there, I just saw that you jumped on for a moment. Just want to say hi. Hope you're doing well. And good to see you out there, Alex. And Mike said special SLV means special longer version. So there you go.
It's like Blade Runner. There's like 50 versions of it.
So he was talking about Star Trek the Motion Picture, not The Abyss, only because you didn't have.
Woo! Excuse me. I think that's the first time I ever sneezed on the show.
I think you're right, and I have not sneezed since I have had my operation, and I am terrified of sneezing. Just saying.
Just saying. Sorry.
That's all right.
I don't know what got into me.
It's all good. Bill is also saying, when will we see the director's cut of Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We really want this show to go on longer. When we replaced you with a digitized ET.
Well, there is actually, when I had Nick Tate on for 4 hours and 45 minutes, there is the director's cut of that.
They erased the gun, the gun in my hand and put a walkie-talkie in it. Yeah.
Nick,
that's right. The Nick Tate thing. Yeah, that was longer than Lawrence of Arabia. Longest show ever.
I remember you said that you because you weren't on with me, but you tuned in and then you tuned out and you went to go eat dinner. I think you were out for a couple hours and you came back and you went on.
Yeah, I said, I'll go back and watch the rest now. It's like, what's going on here? I can't watch. Oh, it's still on.
After that, I think I had kidney stones.
Yeah, that's right.
That was great. I mean, Nick is great, though. I mean, those were immortalized episodes. They really were. But anyway, Sue the motion picture. Yeah, that's what I thought. So with that said, we're going to start to wind down, folks. There is so much to cover. We're closing out on the time now because we're almost to 9 o'clock. So I'm going to do the shout outs. But it would have been nice if, I really appreciate folks putting your comments in. And yeah, I mean, he's got his birthday coming up, which is really, really cool. So with that said, I always like to give Starlog Magazine a shout out from back in the day. And what better Starlog Magazine tribute than issue number 1? And here it is.
Mint and signed.
And signed by William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. So there you go. Yeah.
Were they both there at the same time? I mean, not at the same sitting, but were they both at the same place where you had it signed?
No, in fact, William Shatner signed that in 2003 at the convention I was with Vince in Syracuse. And then Shari and I saw Leonard Nimoy in Parsippany, New Jersey. And that was, when was that? That was in, well, I can tell you when it was. It was August 2nd of 2009. So it was literally 15 and a half years ago this August.
Did you feel like you were taking a chance when you gave it to Leonard? Did you think maybe you'd rip it up? You had to say, oh, Bill signed it. You ripped it into little pieces and threw it on the floor.
Ross. No.
No.
Ross.
Not my mint Starlog.
No.
It's Shatner's signature.
No. They were both really cordial. In fact, Leonard Nimoy, William Shatner was, he seemed a little nervous because, I mean, there was so much foot traffic, but Vince and I got there and, we got our photos taken with him. And then later on, I got the Starlog autographed. But then with Leonard Nimoy, when Shari and I met with him, it was quick because the way they did everything with that, the signatures, that was very quick. But with the photo with Leonard Nimoy, he was so welcoming. In fact, when Adam, his son was on the show, Adam Nimoy, back in January, we were talking about a little bit about that. And he was just like, he was wonderful with the fans. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm not casting aspersions on Leonard Nimoy. I just think it'd be funny to have this signed by a legend and then have another legend.
No. So anyway, but going on from there, all roads lead to Star Trek, of course, as we always like to say. And it's, of course, we're talking about Captain Kirk. There he is, William Shatner. So anyway. That's
his yearbook pose too.
But anyway, folks, if you have any last minute comments you want to put out there, I'm going to go to the shout outs real quickly, and we will be back like in 2 minutes to the show because I'm going to breeze through these real fast. So with that said, present again. Country Gate players in Belvedere, New Jersey. If you are in the Harmony, Belvedere, New Jersey area, definitely check out the website, which is www.countrygate.org. Also, Bill Scarrato, who owns the theater, you can check out his personal website, which is www.billscarrato.com. Country Gate is going to be doing the classic show Death of a Salesman, and that will be between May 31st and June 8th. So definitely mark your calendars for that. And also want to give a shout out to our friends Mike and Mary Beth from Sci-Fi Distilled. They are on Wednesday evenings, and they are going to be doing next week, going for towards the end of March, the top 10 episodes of Star Trek involving mind insanity. And I guess they're talking about the 10 top episodes throughout all the different series incarnations. So they'll be discussing that. Also want to give a shout out to Captain Phil. Captain Phil is on WUSB 90.9 FM, Stony Brook, New York. His schedule is on Thursdays, alternating Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. and then also on Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. And also, Jeffrey, if Jeffrey's still out there, I was giving mention to the Eagle documentary, The Eagle Obsession, which is going to be released. That's going to be coming up sometime very shortly, as we are coming up into the second quarter of the year. So for updates on the Eagle Obsession, you can go to www.eagledocumentary.com. And it's going to be a pretty amazing film, folks. So, and as we were just saying, he did interview William Shatner, and he interviewed William Shatner up at the Star Trek Original Series set tour. So anyway, check that out, and you will get informational updates as far as the release of the film. And also, in regards to Lou was given mention to Found in Space. Lou, if you're out there, if you want to share the URL so folks can check out the movie and they can watch it on, I know it's on YouTube, so please feel free to post that in the chat section. And it was a lot of fun to do. And Lou was too kind with his pleasant comments about my acting in that. But it was good. It was a lot of fun. I can't believe it was over a year ago already. And speaking of William Shatner is going to be back at the Star Trek Original Series set tour. So mark your calendar. It's in Ticonderoga, New York. The dates are June 27th, 28th, and 29th. For information, you can go to www.startrektour.com. And also, I want to give a mention to Abnormal Fixation. It was last Thursday. I had my friend John Kenneth Muir on, and John completed the series. And it has a 6-episode series for the first season. And if you want to see something that's fun, dramatic, a little bit of the absurd, but definitely holds your attention, there's 6 episodes. They're a little over 30 minutes long. It is definitely super enjoyable. And John and the cast and the entire crew put a lot of effort into this. And it pretty much completed the first season. It's won a lot of awards. Now, what they're doing is they're looking to do the second season, and John has launched a Kickstarter to try to help out with the production costs. So definitely check it out. There is a Facebook page dedicated to it. And again, it's Abnormal Fixation. And the Kickstarter is in progress. It launched March 13th. It will be going until April 12th. I will post information too on the show's page. I have posted information on the show's page in regards to it, but definitely check it out. It's very entertaining and very good. And then also a shout out to Space 1999 podcast that I am doing with my friend Warren Friedrich. And we do this every week. And in the next episode we will be discussing is episode 20, which is Space Brain. And we are winding down with the first year of Space 1999. So again, there's a Facebook page dedicated to that, as well as a YouTube page. And also a shout out to my son, Ryan, in regards to his website. And it is Run by Ryan, Empower Your Run. He does online coaching. And also there are different levels. If you want to subscribe to the site, there is no charge. if you want to go beyond that, there are different levels that will be applicable for that. But if you want to check out his website, Brian is very passionate about fitness, and he's definitely keeping me on track with everything that I'm doing for my recovery. So, which I love him for that. His website is www.runbyryan.com. Definitely check that out. And then also shout out to Martha for Studio One Thrift. If you are in the Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania area, you can actually go to the physical location. And if you are just looking online, you can subscribe to www.studioonethrift.com. Martha offers styling tips and informational updates. And again, just definitely check out the website. She also has I want to say almost like a web series she's doing on the Studio One Thrift page. So again, definitely check that out. And then Ross, if you can let everybody know what you've got going on.
These are my recorded shows. I've got 3 of them there. Picture Perfect's the movie show. And that's all music from movies inspired by spring and renewal. That's the theme, spring and renewal. It's on right now on KWAX. I think it's at the end of the show. So right now it's Randy Newman and The Natural, which is a film about a ball player who suffers a setback and comes back, and has a great score by Randy Newman. But that ends at 9:00, so you're gonna conflicting interest here, Roy. Sweetness and Lights, my light music show. That's on Saturday morning at 11:00 Eastern time, and I'll be observing March Madness tomorrow. It's all marches. So I have an hour of marches, 12 marches by 9 composers at 11:00 in the morning there on KWAX. And The Lost Chord is unusual and neglected classical music. I'll be looking ahead to the centenary of the birth of composer and conductor Pierre Boulez, who wrote some pretty out there music. And that's tomorrow night at 7:00 Eastern on KWAX, which is out on the West Coast. But I'm here in Princeton, so I have to record everything here and send it out there. But these are Eastern times. I write things, little teasers for the shows on my Facebook page at Classic Ross Amico. So if you're interested, the day of the show, I usually have something posted to tell you more about it. And that's it. I think that's all I got to say, Roy.
Okay. Thanks, Ross. Thanks for sharing that as well.
Thank you. Thanks.
Absolutely. And just want to let everybody know, Ross and I will be back. We will be back next Friday. And we actually had to put this off a little bit because of, unfortunately, again, wind up in the hospital with everything that was taking place. But our friend of the show, David Frankham, is going to be our very special guest next Friday. And we are going to be celebrating David's belated birthday, which took place last month in February. And it was his 99th birthday. So we're doing an episode to celebrate David's special 99th belated birthday, and that is going to be a celebratory episode towards David Frankham, and very much looking forward to having him on the show along with Jonathan David Dixon, and that will be next Friday, March 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So hopefully we hope you will be able to tune in for that, and it will be a fun show. And also coming up, we are going to be the week after April 4th. We will be celebrating the 5th year of Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner as we kick off our 6th season, but celebrating 5 years. So we'll have a special show planned for that. And the other thing is, I've been talking about it. I have a special interview that I did about almost a little over a year and a half ago. It's actually coming up on 2 years. But it's with Franz Nguyen, and I'm going to actually be showcasing that. And she was such a wonderful guest to have on, and a wonderful person to interview and to speak to. And we'll be sharing that. And I wish it had been sooner, but sooner than later, as they say. So,
was she in Susie Wong with Shatner?
That was her. Absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm. And she gets to talk about, working with Joshua Logan, the director, and she talks about just her life growing up. Just a very wonderful person, very humble, and it was about almost like maybe a 48-minute interview, but it was just so nice. She's just such a nice human being, and for the folks out there too, she is actually going to be at the Star Trek Original Series Set Tour coming in August when Ticonderoga comes up. So anyway, mark your calendars for that. But yes, she was good point, Ross. She was in that. And then also she was in the Star Trek episode Alana Troyes when she played Alon. So yeah. So we'll be sharing that. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. And yeah.
And of course, David Franken was in Star Trek also.
David Franken was also in Star Trek, absolutely. So that, again,
all roads
lead to Star Trek, one way or the other, Ross.
One way or the other.
But anyway, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you tuning in, and it's wonderful just to be back, and I'm just very grateful for everything, and we hope you enjoyed the show. And we, of course, want to wish William Shatner a very happy, safe, and wonderful 94th birthday. And we just wanted to give him a little nice honor with the show, and hopefully everybody enjoyed what we did. So, any last words, Ross?
No, I just 7 decades of work. All respect.
Yeah,
William Shatner. Yeah,
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And with that said, as we always like to say, live long and prosper. Thanks, everyone. Take care and have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.